Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Manon Bolliger, a retired and deregistered naturopathic physician with 30 plus years of experience. Here you will discover engaging and informative conversations between experienced healers, covering all aspects of healing, the personal journey, the journey of the practitioner, and the amazing possibilities for our own body and spirit.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Tonya Joyce. She's a motivational speaker, a pain educator, a crisis interventionist. She's also a life coach with the Robin Madness Method and a business owner. And well, I think we're going to find out quite a bit more here. So I'm not going to go into too many details here. I'm going to ask you the question I always ask. What gets people into wellness or into this healing journey? And I read your story, I've listened to you, but I feel that the story is always best told by the person who experienced it. And we rewrite the meaning of our stories many times, right? So if we just take a moment and thinking of all the people listening, there's some of them are already into health, they're already health professionals, they're wanting to maybe shift what they're doing, maybe expand their horizons, maybe look at things that they may not have looked at before. So we're in a time period of a lot of possibility. So I invite you within that context to tell us what happened to you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for that beautiful intro. I am all of that and much more. As I like to say, we're all multi-potentialites. And when we step into our power, we can grow exponentially. So initially, I was going to be a lawyer. I come from a social science background. I'm a criminologist. And in life, I call it like the feather, the brick, the semi. If you're on the wrong path, the universe will give you a little nudge and you don't listen. It'll give you a brick and you don't listen. Then it'll throw a semi at you or something really big and your life changes and you're forced to listen to that message. So in my case, I was struck by a drunk driver and my life changed. I died in an instant in the physical body, not in the spiritual body. Mm-hmm. So I changed because I was forced to rest. I was go, 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 go. And when you do that, the body goes into dis-ease. Injury or illness can change us. So what do you do in that moment? When that happened, I was in a wheelchair instantly. The doctors said I wouldn't walk, talk, go back to volunteering, go back to work, go back to school. Your life changes. So this is how I stepped into wellness. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm not going to accept that diagnosis. You don't know me. I'm so resilient. I'm so strong. I'm Norwegian. I'm a Viking. You don't know who you're messing with. Well, the universe said, you're going to do it on my time, not your time. So I had to seek out all these different modalities that I was unfamiliar with.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
They put me on pharmaceuticals. I was on opioids. I'd never taken opioids before. Sleep medication, muscle relaxants, nerve blockers, 90 pills a day. I was a walking zombie. No wonder I wasn't getting better. I couldn't physically do anything without pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
I couldn't be present in my children's life. I went from being their parent to being their patient, and my children were young. Mm. So to break free from this cycle of I wouldn't say traditional medicine anymore. Mm-hmm. I would say the medical system that they put you into, you become a script. Mm-hmm. You become a 15 minutes of them being your primary caregiver when they're not your primary focus. You have to become your own primary caregiver and your own advocate to get better. But what that takes is resilience. You have to say no more. So the way I did that was finding a circle of people around me that could believe in me till I believed in myself. So what we do, I know we have 30 minutes, but I went from a wheelchair to a walker to walking in heels by finding people who did it before me. And that made the impossible possible.
So, but how did you first know that you needed people that sort of were not necessarily mentors in your case? They were more like support, people who believed in you. How did you know that was an important part?
I've always been spiritual. I have always meditated. I've always been a reader. I'm a mother. I've always looked to meditation to help me debrief. I've been a survivor since I was young. So the traumas that I faced at a younger age and the ways that I sought to heal those traumas really gave me the strength to get through this next trauma.
Right.
So I think lending to those like leaning on those traumas and the strategies that I used to heal from those traumas really helped me deal with this one.
Yeah.
It gave me that resilient strength within. And then when you stop and sit in the presence of now, really tapped into that. And then you have to get to a point where I'm going to listen to my body. What is my body trying to tell me? And when you start listening to your body, things start showing up in your life. And I think that's what we really should do as a society.
Yeah.
Is start listening.
Absolutely. It's funny. I have a program called Listen to Your Body.
Okay. See,
I think we're on the same track, and actually your story, it's interesting. I mean, it reminds me really of mine too, because we don't live isolated in our experience, so I had a rather I guess horrific is a good word for it, experience, not at a very, very young age, but at 16. And, it was very, I mean, it could have been a death sentence, what happened. But I got through this. And when I got diagnosed many years later with cancer, it was actually that experience, which felt like a lead experience. I basically got out of an entrapped rape situation. And when I was able to realize that I got out, I realized that like I'm being led. There's something going on here bigger than me. And I knew at that time, this is not my time. So when I was on the oncology bed and they're like, oh, statistics about you or whatever, and I'm just the number, basically I signed a program, I did this, I did that.
Yeah.
And funny, I was actually a lawyer too. So signing away stuff that you should read before you sign anyway. But it's like I woke up and I went, no, wait a minute here, this is not my time. Removing a cancerous organism going to remove the situation I'm in that I recreated in that kind of way, or created in the in that current reality. And so anyway, I just had to share because it's so parallel.
No, thank you. And that's the message we need to send to other women.
Yes.
What is my body trying to tell me?
Absolutely.
And when we show up for ourselves and really get into the heart of why I'm feeling this way, and feed our mind and our bodies with things that are meaningful and declutter our lives, great things show up for us.
Yeah.
You know, where am I supposed to be? It's no chance that we're meeting today
Yeah,
because, right? Because our lives really parallel.
Yeah.
You know, and the more we tell our stories, women know that they're not alone. And the message reaches them at the right time that it's supposed to meet them. You know, we all face traumas, whether big or small, and no trauma is greater than the other.
Exactly.
And it's all our story. And when we sit and share with inspiration, we all heal together. And that's the beauty of it. You know, whether you're facing crisis, I'm a crisis interventionist during the day. And I feel passion when I come to work because women can share their stories and they know where to go to get help when they're facing domestic violence. They know where to get help if they're in postpartum depression. And it's like, we're here to support one another because the more we deal with it together, that dis-ease is prevented in our bodies.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to eat what you want, but eat it lovingly and don't beat yourself up about it.
Exactly. Yeah,
you know, eat the damn cheesecake. Love your body while you're eating it. Enjoy the friendship that you're eating with it. Have good conversation with your loved ones.
Yeah.
But we need to stop saying to ourselves, oh my gosh, I'm going to step on the scale and this is going to make me gain fat. Love your fat. I'm a size sexy. Do you know? Like, I've had 5 children. I earned my butt. Do you know? Like, by whose standards, by whose belief systems am I not enough? Do you know? What we tell ourselves matters. I used to roll down the street. Now I'm walking in heels. I'm rocking the heels. I earned the heels. And I also earned the slippers. I'm looking good for me.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that this is such an important message, you know, and I would say a lot in the young generation too, or young, you know, I would say 30s or so. There's, you know, there's a lot of fear around body image, you know, and for that matter, like what, you know, pregnancy, you've had 5, I've had 3. So, and I'm done, just to be clear.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I mean, I love them, but you know, I'm not doing 2 more anyways. I don't think it's at this point possible.
Well, I took a pregnancy test just yesterday and I'm 53. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. I'm not doing it in my 60s. That's what I say.
I'm teasing me neither.
Yeah, but you know, again, the whole approach of you know, of our bodies, like even the whole idea of giving birth and the fear, you know, I was overhearing conversations, you know, amongst, you know, young girls and saying, oh no, I'm definitely doing an epidural, I'm definitely doing this, I'm, you know, I'm not taking the pain. And, you know, then because you also specialize in pain. So I'd love to have your take on you know, on what is it, or how can, I mean, I have my story about it, but I'm sure you have yours 5 times. But how do you deal with pain? Because the easy escape is that, oh well, you're tough, you deal with pain, but you know, I'm not, and therefore somehow I need drugs or whatever, right?
So pain is education. So thank you for asking that. Pain is not, people deal with pain, period. Women more importantly than men. So I will say this, I'm not bashing men on this, but pain studies are generally done on men. But women generally feel pain more than men. We have pain in our uterus. We have pelvic floor pain. We have monthly pain. We have endometrial pain. We have many different types of complex pain, which is often ignored by the medical system. There's many books on it. It's understudied in women and overstudied in men. Heart attacks present differently in women than they do in men. And they've only recently done studies that highlight women and pain, whereas it was largely ignored previously as hysteria, as
Yeah.
yes. So where that's concerned is that your environment contributes to your pain greatly. So what I will say is that learning about how pain presents in your body is so important. Having a toolbox for your pain is so important. And my message is, you don't always need a pill. You need a purpose. So that is my message, because you can tune down your pain by addressing your environment. So how you deal with pain in your environment is your relationship toxic? Is your nutrition efficient? Is your environment cluttered? What in your environment is contributing to your pain? So if you look at it from a biopsychosocial perspective, that is how you tune down your pain. Listening to your body, like we were talking about initially. Yeah. What is my body trying to tell me when it's in pain? Don't always look to the pill. Don't always look to the surgery. Yes, talk to your doctor. Yes, talk to your surgeon. Once you've explored those avenues, if you are not in acute pain, which is the first 3 months of illness or injury, and also if it's cancer or something like that, it presents in a different way. But if you are looking at the issues of illness or injury, a broken bone will heal typically in the first 3 months. Muscles will heal. You can get physio, you can get massage therapy. First acute phase of injury is that's when you need those things to prevent shock. Those are what pain medication is intended for. The opioid crisis that we have is prescribing prolonged pain medications in the long term.
Manon Bolliger here, and I want to thank you for taking actionable steps towards engaging your healing journey and helping others discover their path by watching, sharing, subscribing, and reviewing these podcasts. Every review and share helps spread the word, these different perspectives and choices and options for healing. And to thank you, I'd like to invite you to sign up to my free 7-sequence email tips on health and healing for everyday life. You can go to healerscafe.com tips. Thanks so much.
Are you taking care of your body in a way that is conducive with reducing your pain? Movement to change pain, mindfulness to change pain, meditation to change pain, nutrition to change pain. So all of these aspects will reduce your pain if you're being mindful. You wouldn't drive your car across the country with no gas in it, right? You wouldn't, all of these things. So educate yourself. And so yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So when you're thinking about birth, which is it's not an acute injury, it's not a chronic disease, it's a pathway, right? And
yes,
when you bring out purpose, I found that I really relate to that. It's like, what is all of this energy that your body's producing, which is somewhat overwhelming because contractions are contractions, but the purpose is to bring out this life, and I feel like then you can go with the pain more easily because it's not coming at you, right? It's not against you, and I feel like if you're not fighting pain, at least when I was in practice, a lot of my patients had a bad attitude towards their body, so it's like, oh, my darn hip, and they would bang their hip, and it's sort of like creating this division as if the hip was this separate entity that's attacking you. And that's because we live in this world where we separate body parts and specialists for every single part, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not uncommon to sort of isolate, separate, and then fight against, right? So that's how we're, but birth is that process where it's all together now. You really have to go with. And I don't know, I find that that's probably the strongest thing that helps women make and I agree with you, educate too, like, find out what's in these epidurals, what are the risks, and why run this through your baby, like do you really need it just because it's convenient for them? What about the risks that after that you might need oxytocin, or you might need something to actually help push out the baby? And then what if you're interfering with a natural cycle, which you don't start the interference. You only interfere if the natural cycle somehow gets frozen and doesn't work, right?
Well, what I will say to that is, number one, a good book that I can recommend is called Pain and Prejudice.
Wow,
that's one.
Oh, great.
Oh, it's a beautiful book. I don't have it in front of me, or I'd give you the name
Pain
of the
and
author.
Prejudice. Okay.
Yeah, that's one that I've read. It's so beautiful, describing about women's pain. I had my 5 children naturally with no epidural. So I think going with the pain and thinking about the purpose, because, and this is before I gained these skills of knowing how pain presents, how your body is working and working with your body. And this is where a doula really comes into play in delivering our children naturally. And so it's unfortunately, women used to be burned at the stake for being a doula or being a natural healer in the world. Another good book about that, I'm a real nerd, In Defense of Witches by Mona Chollet. She is an author that still writes for Charlie Hebdo in France. Really good book there, because it's all about women's empowerment and how if we were outspoken or if our womb was barren, you can be a mother figure to someone without giving birth. And women should not be defined by our womb and giving birth. It's a blessing to be a mother, but some women don't want to be mothers, and that's okay. You can be a great and wonderful aunt to a child as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can be a mother figure without carrying a child in your womb. You don't need to go to fruition to be a mother, because women are defined by many things in your identity. So and that book really describes that in a beautiful way. The title's a little off-putting, but but it's still for some women, but maybe for a lot of women. But at the same time, it's a beautifully written novel about the status of women. And so what I will say is that for pain itself, look at the purpose of the pain. What is my body trying to tell me? It's trying to get this little human out that's the size of a watermelon out of something this big. You've got to spread and love your body. The process will go much smoother if you say, thank you, body, for showing up for me. Thank you, hips, for spreading and giving me my loving baby out of my hips. If you talk to your body through the pain, the pain passes much smoother. Even if you're having back injury or illness or a headache.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I'm having a headache. Thank you, body, for telling me I'm in pain. Tapping into your nervous system through emotional freedom techniques, or there's a lot of things we can use, and seek out the information. If you don't know what you don't know, you do know what you do know. And once you know it, you can't unlearn it. So seek a naturopath, right? Peppermint oil works for headaches. Dim lights work for headaches. Cool cloth works for headaches. You don't always need a pill.
Yeah.
Do you know, there's lots of things in our, what did they do before pharmaceuticals? Did humans die? No, they still procreated. We've got 7 billion people on the planet. There must be an alternative. We still procreated. Humans were still born, you know, and not stillborn, but still.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, oh gosh.
Yeah, sorry for trigger warning. But
Yeah. You know, especially on this subject. Oh my goodness.
Oops.
Yeah.
But I like to education, because once we know, we know.
Yeah.
And so as a pain educator and crisis interventionist, I will say that yes, we're going to face traumas in our life. Yes, we're going to get pain. 80% of the population experience pain at one point or time or another in their life. Well, I would say 100%, because if you've stubbed your toe, you've been in pain. But that old cartoon where the toe is this big, pulsing, but then once you look at it, it's not really pulsing this big. As soon as you pay attention to it, the pain declines. Because all pain is saying is, pay attention to me. Something might be wrong. But as soon as you pay attention, you've assessed it. Your body's saying, pay attention to me. And then as soon as you say, okay, body, I'm paying attention to you, you assess what's wrong. I need a Band-Aid. I need to lift my feet. Your body calms down. It's just a nervous system reaction sending a pain signal. So
well, it's like a baby. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, change my diaper.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is a great analogy. It's crying. Okay, you burped. Oh, I can go back to typing now. I can go back to reading my book now.
Yeah. And then some pains are, you know, I mean, acute pain, like you said, stubbing, there you go, your toe, actually doesn't take that long, right? It's not a forever thing, right? Like the nervous system responds, yes, you know, etc. I had an experiment where it was no experiment. It was an experiment for the dentist I saw. Let's put it that way. But I had to get my wisdom teeth out, and I don't freeze. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, and they were, you know, straight. They weren't like crooked, which causes other issues. So, you know, and so I had to find a dentist that was willing to do that, because you know, a lot of them don't. It's like, no. We've only seen it when we inject you and freeze you and this and that. And so I tried to explain that I don't freeze. There's no point nummifying me or whatever, trying to do that. You know, I meditate and I use some acupuncture points, and you know, and really I can help you if you need something to calm down so you can do your job, you know. Like, anyway, I had a great dentist anyway. And he said, oh my God, you know, his assistant wasn't willing to be in the room at first. He goes, no, I am not, this is beyond my job. You know, I am not dealing with this kind of craziness. And it's like, okay, you know, it's like, fine. And then she of course stayed, you know, but it was very interesting. I said, just tell me exactly what you do and how it's going to be, because that way I can stay extremely present to what's happening. Because I know that the moment I engage, like all these thoughts that can happen, like, oh, the tooth will crack and he'll slip, and you know, and then it's like crunchy and it's disgusting, and you know, and then it's going to hurt, whatever. I can go on to a story. So I said, just stay extremely present with me. And I put myself in a little bit of a hypnotic state, you know, simple stuff like roll your eyeballs up and breathe a few times. And anyway, and he went in there, he goes, okay, now I'm rolling the tooth. And I can see that, rolling it there. And now I'm grabbing it and yanking it. And that's how long it took. And you know, the final, the rolling was a bit like, oh, you know, and the yanking was like, done now. That was it. I had no pain afterwards, like just that moment. No swelling, no freezing stuff, no nothing. I could eat normally. And you know, and it was just to stay totally present, to not allow the mind to build the story, you know. And that was really, you know, it was such a good, I mean, such a good experience for the dentist. He was extremely grateful, but it was a good experience, you know, for me to see that, yeah, you know, there's so much we don't fully understand about our incredible possibilities as humans, you know.
Yes. And I think that when people ruminate,
yes,
and they get stuck in the feedback loop of the story,
yes,
that's when they experience emotional pain, physical pain, and we're our own worst enemy in that moment. What a beautiful story to share.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm interviewing you, but I feel like we know each other, and I just got to share something with you. So there you go.
I really appreciate that, you know, and I'm, you know, when we're engaging in these talks, I find that it's such a beautiful exchange. So thank you so much. That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
So our time is kind of up. It's ridiculous. I feel like we haven't even begun, but so where can people like reach you to find out more about you? I'll put all that in your, you know, on the website, but so you work in a crisis center in the day.
Yes, I'm with CHIMO Community Services in Richmond, BC, which is a suburb of Vancouver, BC.
Right.
And so we are a crisis line. I'm a coordinator there. So, and we respond to crisis interventions, and that's just not a suicide line. It's for anyone in crisis or isolation.
Right.
So we have volunteers that man the line. Volunteers are stars. And so I'm the coordinator there during the day. And then at night and on weekends, I'm a public speaker. My website is guidedpathwellness.com, www.guidedpathwellness.com. So all my information is on there, gives a little synopsis of my story. I'm a pain educator and I do podcasts, plus I'm open to doing keynote speaking, interactions like this, if anyone would like to have a chat, have a story. But yeah, so that's what I do. And I'm also a professional singer on the side. Is fun.
Amazing.
But yeah, so I do those for fundraisers. So a lot of the stuff I do is to promote wellness in our community. So, and educate people on pain education, but I do coaching for pain education to help people live their best life. So that is me.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming. And I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you today and chat with you.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Manon Bolliger. Continue your healing journey by visiting thehealerscafe.com and her website, and discover how to listen to your body and reboot for optimal health.